Recording in progress, so we can start.
Perfect.
Justin is someone who is perfect example of the how to gain and regain the confidence and achieve great things in the SEO world. But I will stop talking and I will let Justin to express that himself in the way like how he was seeing this like coaching mindset like journey on him. So I will start with a question. What made you reach out to me when you first reach out?
Great question. I think there's probably a lot of things at play, but I think the most one was when it just happened to come up on my LinkedIn feed at the time when somehow I needed it the most. It's funny how the world works in that way. So yeah, I was going through a really difficult time um, with my confidence and with a lot of imposter syndrome as well. And I remember, um, I think I saw you actually at Brighton first, and then maybe on LinkedIn or the other way around. I can't remember, but I think one of the talks you were talking about was imposter syndrome. And I, again, this was a couple of years ago, but I can't remember exactly what you said. But pretty much everything in that video that I saw, or I can't remember if it was again live in person, but it just really connected to me. And I thought, wow, this is the universe has a crazy way of bringing solutions to your problem when you kind of need it the most. So yeah, I just remember seeing your content and seeing your stuff come up, and it really interested me. And yeah, I've been no stranger to, let's say, seeing therapists in the past, but in the case with you, you have very specific knowledge about the industry and SEO as a whole. And I felt you also understood where I was coming from because you yourself had experienced similar things before. So, yeah, I think just finding myself at a really difficult time in my career where I was super low on confidence. And then, yeah, you appeared and really, really helped me to yeah, just evaluate where I was, but also regain my confidence as well. And
Mhm.
it was a great experience.
And I always see whenever people are working with a therapist, like in the past, and they are coming to the coaching sessions, like they are having definitely like bigger capacity to even like progress faster because usually people are asking me like what is difference because the therapist like, and coach and like they are asking me like are you a therapist and like I'm saying like no I'm not a
Yeah,
therapist.
yeah,
And like the
yeah,
therapists are usually focused like on the past or like on the present or something like that, but coaches are usually focused on the future and like what you want to achieve your goals. And then, yes, we will come back to the past and like I need to have the psychology things, like the patterns that we were taking from the childhoods. But like definitely, I think what is even like interesting and like even when I was started, I was like, am I crazy? There is no SEO mindset coach who knows the SEO, who knows the
yeah,
business things, who knows the psychology. Like, is this idea crazy? But I really see um, therapists can't understand SEOs, like problems with the algorithms, like with the industry,
exactly.
with the everyday problems, like so I really see, like after many years I was like, yeah, this was a great idea, but like even like when I was a starter, I was like crazy, like we don't have this like in the
Yeah, yeah, exactly. I think the fact that it didn't exist probably made it even harder because you're like, do people need this or do they not? But I think, yeah, again, as soon as I saw your content, it immediately made sense to me. And I think what you do really well is you combine the psychology and the sort of um, what do they call it, like CBT techniques, but you do it in a way that combines all of your experience in SEO, and it makes it more familiar to, well, at least for me, to yeah, just to kind of relate the psychology things to what we might be experiencing at work, or the pressures of constantly changing algorithms or ranking drops, or stuff like that. So it's yeah, I found that really helpful as well.
what kind of changes did you notice like in your behavior, like at work once you started working with me? Because Usually, people don't see that in most of the cases, a lot of problems, not all, but most of the problems and stress, anxiety, like we can solve by improving our confidence, like, and working on fixing this, like, imposter thoughts that we all have, like, especially people who haven't been like native in their locations, like these kinds of things. So they are not realizing that actually the confidence is kind of like middle step that they are missing to get a new job, to be better at the work, to achieve like any other dreams. So what kind of like changes you have noticed like when we were working together?
I think, yeah, I think the first one is for sure a regain of confidence, and I think early on when we started working together, that was something we identified as kind of being the um, at least the problem in my case, because, and probably with a lot of SEOs that you work with as well, everyone has the knowledge at least, but there's like this middle gap between the knowledge and where you want to land up. But that middle bit is kind of the confidence and the imposter syndrome and all of that doubt. And I think before we started working together, it was hard for me to see that. I knew something was kind of wrong in my environment, and I could feel unfulfilled, but I never really quite pinpointed that it was is the confidence. I could feel it deep down, but to recognize that and to have that being recognized as well, that was the biggest difference for me. Because also one of the things that you recommend is going back and rewatching previous sessions that we had over time. And I think comparing my first ever session with you to even a few months
Mhm.
afterwards, you can really see a total change in the person. Like it it's kind of shifted my mindset in a way that um, I had this problem and I didn't know how to solve it, to I know how to solve this problem now. I just need to believe in myself and have that confidence, kind of thing.
Yeah, and that's the best part. Like when you learn how to fix like one problem, doesn't matter, is it stress and anxiety? There is so many other patterns on our daily basis that we can solve in the same way. Like
Exactly.
definitely it's taking time. At least like few weeks, few months to identify all these patterns. Like but like in the end of the day, like we have maybe 15 patterns there that we are constantly repeating on
Yeah.
daily basis from morning until night, like uh,
Exactly. Yeah.
during the emails. Oh, is it clear enough? I didn't understand.
Yeah.
What if I'm saying this, like, and like so many things. So, I think you're a perfect example how we did like one pattern by one, and
Yeah.
that leaded you like to the next kind of achievements that you want to achieve, and like it's more and more.
Exactly. Yeah. It wasn't just like on day one we started and we noticed all of these patterns or all of these problems, but I think it took us time, as it should, to really work through kind of each one by one, and each one has a kind of tool or a helpful mechanism that you can implement to help improve. But you know those patterns, you start to, at least we started to kind of recognize them, and before they were, at least in my head, all in somewhere in my brain and somewhere in my body. But working together, we were able, I think, to separate all of those patterns, and then again, like you said, kind of work on them one by one, and go step by step. And each one was a building block to the next. And I think something that also I noticed quite quickly, and especially now that I can look back, is that the work we didn't only benefit my professional career, but also it really trickled down, and I could see an impact positively in my personal life as well, and just the way in which I deal with people, and setting boundaries as well. So yeah, it's just was super helpful, not just professionally but personally as well.
Yeah, usually we are starting from work, but everything that we are learning for our work, it's also like on all other aspects on our
Yeah,
life.
yeah,
What would you say, like, what aspect of working with me has the biggest impact on you?
that's a yeah, great question. I mean, I think the fact that you experienced very similar things to me,
Mm-hmm.
And maybe, of course, everyone has a different story and and everyone's path is very nuanced. But I think when you really boil it down, we kind of had kind of similar things. And I think the biggest difference it made to me was I could see the confidence that you had, and I could see from your previous videos, I think on YouTube as well, how you spoke about those times where you had lack of confidence or you had issues at work or visa stuff, which we discussed quite a lot. And I think to see you having overcome that at a time when I was working with you was a really big aspect, to make me feel like I'm in good and safe hands, if you know what I mean. Because you're not just someone who's talking theory, or a lot of the times you have life coaches or business coaches who they know all the theory, but they've never necessarily gone through the experiences themselves. And I think that's the biggest thing, is that you went through those experiences, and so you weren't just telling me exercises that could help me, but you were showing me exercises that you yourself did and how you benefited from them, and that was immensely helpful.
Yeah, and I'm always saying like to my people, like I can't coach you on some things that I didn't experience. Like and me moving from Bosnia to Dublin, working in English, like working with American people, consulting agency, like it's I think like I was having all the problems, like but now finally I'm so grateful for these problems because now I can help other people with the same
Yeah,
problems,
yeah,
like so also I think like that is a lot of life coaches and like coaches in general are in a negative perspective we are talking about them because most of them like and I am in the coaching industry but I really see that like people are talking about something that they haven't been experiencing with and like
yeah,
I was like just definitely like these people are experiencing something else so instead of just like talking about like what others want to hear just like definitely all the people have these stories that like they experience some negative things so instead
yeah,
of just like talking about like bullshitting just like talk your experience and
yeah, yeah,
it's much more easier and me as a coach like it's so fulfilling when I'm helping other people to overcome something that first I needed to overcome and now
overcome,
we are going through the same shit and now I'm
yeah,
thinking like thanks God like now I can help other people with my bullshits
yeah,
like so
yeah,
it's not my bullshit it's my shit that like I was experiencing
yeah, yeah,
like so
exactly,
it's
yeah,
kind of like so fulfilling on all other things and then people can feel are you
exactly,
faking it
yeah.
or like
I was
because
going to say, yeah,
yeah and
it's
honestly
yeah,
like and I, I wish I can fake how miserable I was in my job and like
yeah,
like I
yeah,
don't want to say people, but I was like so miserable. So instead
yeah,
of just
yeah.
like faking it, I was like, okay, I will just like tell the truth because it's honestly, in the end of the day, it's more fulfilling for me to tell the truth because, like then just like fake it. Yeah, I was like this. No, I was
Yeah,
miserable and shit. So
exactly. And I think also something a lot of coaches do that I see is, um, sort of maybe promise you a really ideal outcome that is probably not always going to be the case, if that makes sense. So I think with you, again, the first um, content I ever saw of yours, you were very honest and put yourself in a vulnerable place, I think, to really like not sugarcoat anything and just be brutally honest about what you experienced, the way you came from. And I think a lot of other coaches, I could be wrong, but I think they focus more on, look how great I did, look at all of what I've achieved. But I think you went in the direction of showing people, um, which I think people relate to. I especially did, that look at the shit that I had to go through, kind of thing. And here I am now, and I can help other people. And I think that resonated with me as well, that I didn't feel like you were selling me, or selling me anything, let's say, but like a false dream or a false kind of um outcome, which I
yeah.
think, yeah, some coaches really do.
Yeah, because you mentioned a great thing because that is like why a lot of people are connecting coaching with these like positive affirmation, think positive, like these kinds of things. But like that is something that I'm not doing at all because I'm always saying to my people, like, the only difference between me and you is just that I'm processing these feelings of insecurity, of, like all these patterns, fear, like shame, embarrassments, like being rejected. I am on today level, I am experiencing that as well. The only difference is that like I caught that feeling in a seconds, and because I was practicing so much, I can process that rejection and see that like it's not about the person that is rejecting me today. It's about like in the end of the day, my mom that was constantly rejecting
Yeah,
me. So I was taking that pattern and I'm putting on the person who is on me. And that
yeah,
is like why so many SEOs they can't go and sell their SEO services, get like new clients because they don't want to feel rejected. But
rejected.
not
Yeah,
because of these people that like in the end of the day we don't know. It's about like we as a kid like we didn't want to be rejected, and now it's so crazy how we are giving up on our dreams and our capabilities because of like these feelings that can be processed,
processed.
like.
Yeah, and work through. Yeah,
And you are continuing to the new level, and of course on the new level you will have just like the same shit but on the new level, but at
yeah,
least you are progressing, you are more successful. Okay, like in the end of the day we are just like choosing which problems I want to have. Me
yeah,
myself, I want to have new problems because
yeah,
like these
yeah,
problems
yeah.
I had like last 15 years.
I think that's a
Give
great
me
point.
something new.
Yeah, yeah. Give me something new to worry about, kind of thing. It's yeah. I mean, I just so many things popped into my mind now as you were mentioning all of that, and um, I think one of the first questions you asked me just now, I think another answer I have is that something that really impressed me working with you as well is that, and again, something I think a lot of coaches don't do is you personally were also working with your mindset coach at the same time we were working together. So it never, some coaches I think get into this complacency situation where they feel like I've learned everything now and now I'm in a position only to teach. But life goes on, and I think we all have daily problems, and I think the fact that you weren't and aren't complacent in that way, that you are constantly developing yourself, is a positive thing for the people that you are teaching as well. And I
Yeah.
think that's a huge benefit.
And it's still the same story today because I'm still working with my business coach. I'm still working with my mindset coach. And like, like some of my friends, they are asking me why you are doing this. And I was like, because first, to be able to help others, you really need to be 100% clear in your mind, like
Yeah,
so, because it's so important that I'm not leading and solving your problem from my insecurity or like pushing people, like I want to support you in the way that like you need to be supported, not
yeah,
what I think, like
yeah,
or
yeah,
and I'm telling like my people, especially on like new group coaching program, like when they can see each other, like I want to have like 100 people on this call. I want to be able to handle and like have the capacity to lead and kind of like support more people
more
because like
people.
that's my
Yeah,
purpose. Like that's why I'm here.
yeah,
But I know that like why I have just like 10 people on my group coaching call instead of 100 is that like I need to have that identity that I can lead 100 people on the
yeah,
call. For
yeah,
now, I'm not that person.
yeah.
Like I'm not that person. How I know? Because there is no like 10 people on the call. Versus 4 years ago when I started, I was able just to handle one person on the
One
call. That's
person.
why
Yeah,
I was working like one-on-ones. And
yeah,
then, like in 2 years when I want to go is like 100 people and then more and more and more. But I need to have that capacity of like bringing and supporting people like on that call, which is like, like that is my mission. That is what I want. Okay, how I will do that by working on myself.
yeah,
Like,
yeah,
so,
yeah,
and especially for ambitious people, like I'm extremely ambitious and I know whatever I want, it's because of my head, like
yeah,
there are so many things that like other people can help me. Why I wouldn't go with my mindset coach, like just to achieve like bigger
yeah,
dreams,
yeah.
like, so I'm not saying like, oh, like, oh, I have found like this, so I will stop working. Why? Because I want to achieve more and more.
More. Yeah, yeah. As you grow, so do the people you work with grow, and it's just a constant. you know, parallel thing where everyone's going up. And I think that's, yeah, just a great thing.
Did you have any kind of worries, like before you start working with me, how it will look like? Is anything was surprising, or you had like um, different perspective how it will look like on the coaching? Because so many SEOs are not having this experience working with a coach, so it's kind of like taboo idea how it will look like. So I don't
Yeah.
know, like any concerns that you had.
I think, yeah, personally, I had more of a concern of perhaps my colleagues at the time finding out, or my employers at the company where I was working. Maybe they found out that I was doing this, and not that that would have gotten me into trouble, because yeah, it wouldn't have. But it's more about the judgment, maybe, or the feeling of shame about what they might think about me, putting myself in this position. But um, at the end of the day, people only really care about themselves. And I think, maybe they will think at one second, oh, he's doing mindset coaching. Um, whatever they think, what a loser, or good for him. But whatever they think, actually, at the end of the day, it's not their career that they're building towards. And if, I think something I learned along the way working with you is that they're not there to help me build my career. So their opinion on what I do to build my own career or support myself is actually none of their business. So I think I did feel a bit of shame, let's say, and maybe a bit of embarrassment about what my colleagues might think. But I think that faded really quickly, and at the end of the day, it was the best decision I made at that time. So yeah, I would, if anyone would be in a similar position to me, I would say, just go for it, and just take that first step, because if it resonates with you, working with a mindset coach, yeah, by all means, go for it. Don't let anyone stop you.
Yeah, and thank you so much for sharing that because it's very hard like when we are struggling something and like during the last like 20, 30 years, usually when we would have some problem, like we would try to solve that problem by ourselves, like in many times like it was very hard to ask for a parent, like especially if we didn't grow up in the supporting with the supporting parents as I didn't, like I just like didn't have that habit of like going to my parents and saying like, hey, I have this problem in a school, like with the boyfriends, girlfriends, with the school friends or something like that. So I was constantly trying to solve my problem by myself, like, and then when you're having these struggles at the work, you still constantly trying to figure it out, and then like asking for help would be kind of like bigger humiliation, like
Yeah, yeah,
who
yeah,
am I if I can't fix like this problem?
yeah,
But like in today's world and like especially like as we are SEOs, like why we wouldn't ask PPC person to do the PPC work? We wouldn't learn PPC, like and then like when it comes to us, it seems like, oh, I will be embarrassed, I will be like do this and this. And for example, in my case, before I was having just like my friends, like who haven't been involved in any business, like they were working at their full times, they didn't go to therapists, they didn't go to any kind of like coaching sessions. And like whenever I would say like, hey, my Mondays are usually for my mindset coaching, like they would be like, why you still need one? But for example, in the last year, like I have my online friends who are also having different like businesses. Usually I met these friends like from the different like business mindset coaching, like calls. And then like we met. And then it's so interesting because on like these calls with the business owners who are leading their businesses, we are constantly thinking, oh, and talking, I have this business coach, I'm following this another business coach, I want therapy to this. It's totally like different talks. We
yeah,
constantly talk like who we are working for and who is the business coach, like good business coach, who we are following. But like these people are just, and then, like it's not bad and wrong. It's just about like where you want to see and go.
Yeah.
Because usually a very successful, very ambitious people are having, like big dreams. And like why I would try in the next 10 years to achieve some dream by myself when I can just like put my money and help, get help from another person
Yeah.
who is on that situation. I will grow fast, I will earn more money, in the end of the day. And it's just like kind of like different approaches. And I'm always saying, like there is no right or wrong. It's just like what you want to
What you
get
want.
in your life. But also like if you want to lead and get, for example, clients on the side, you can't be like one of my full-time friends who are not, they don't want to get the clients on the side, like they just want to travel and like these kinds of things. So we constantly need to question like what I need and what I want and how we're getting, because usually people want to get something on their life, but they are following other people who want something else,
Something else. Yeah. Yeah.
so we
Yeah.
need to question like, hey, where I want to be in the next 5 years and who can help me, because like I don't want to compare like to these environment thing that like these people are just like living their best life. They just don't want to even like work. Like I love to work, like
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
kind of like part of my of course that is coming from the biggest insecurities, but also I'm in that way, like I will work, I want to be ambitious, and like I don't want kind of like money without like anything, but
And yeah.
like
Yeah.
just a kind of putting like, hey, this is the person I am, this is what I want, who can help me to get there, and like that's it. These
Yeah.
people who just like enjoying their life, perfect. I wish I was like this person, just like
Sometimes like that.
traveling and
Yeah.
like, and I have that friend every week. She's just like sending like, let's travel to this, let's travel to this, and it's like that's perfect because she's living her best life. And I love travel, but also I love work. I love creating when like new dreams, achieving what I didn't have like in my childhood. So that's who am I,
Yeah.
and like that's it.
I think also, part of that is a lot of people, especially in SEO, are also ashamed to ask for help, or, there's a lot of, I think, embarrassment and shame, again, is the word I can think of, where, you know, we kind of live in this industry where knowledge is everything. And, if you feel like you don't know something, or, that can really, have a big hit on your confidence. But I think a lot of people I've seen in the industry, they almost think there's more points to be won by doing everything yourself and not asking for help. And sure, some people are quite, narrow-minded, and maybe not narrow-minded, but they know what they want to achieve, and other people aren't part of that process. But I think a lot of other people asking for help is probably the best thing you can do, because it's, no one is really going to judge you, I think, at the end of the day. And um, it's only going to help you grow more. And why make things more difficult for yourself by taking everything on and not asking for help, if you know that asking for help is going to help me progress to the next step. So yes.
But also, I know the answer because we have that false belief that like we need to struggle so much to achieve great things,
Yeah,
So
yeah, yeah.
it's crazy, like what we are doing to ourselves, like just like to humiliate myself, like to the worst, just like to kind of had the feeling that I deserve a better life.
Yeah, 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 exactly. Yeah. Somehow, the harder it is, the better the success is going to taste at the end, which maybe,
Yeah.
might be true, but I think there's a lot we can do to make our lives easier. And asking for help is more of a sign of strength, I think. And also it shows a lot of self-awareness to be able to recognize that, oh, okay, actually, to to help myself, I need to ask someone for help.
Yeah, and honestly, like that's the successful mindset. Like all the successful people, like they haven't been there for by themselves. Like they needed like other people, like they needed like their kind of like leaders in any way. So,
Yeah,
like it's kind of like what we are doing to ourselves is crazy without any question. Like, is this right? We are just like doing that by
exactly.
default.
Yeah, no, I know,
Oh,
crazy.
okay. Justin, thank you so much for this conversation. I really enjoyed and enjoy your weekend.
Thank you very much, Adrian. It was good to see you again.